Welcome back to Bricks and Trips, and welcome of course to Blackpool Pleasure Beach. It is the 10th of May and I am so excited to say that I am finally going to get a ride on this little thing just here. It is preview day for AVIKTAS, the brand new ride at Pleasure Beach. So whilst AVIKTAS doesn't technically open until the 21st of May, there were some very limited in availability preview tickets available for both the 10th and the 13th to try and be some of the very first people in the country to ride this massive new Intamin Gyro Swing. I love these Intamin Gyro Swing style rides. Maelstrom at Drayton Manor is one of my absolute favourite flat rides you can find at any park, and I am absolutely buzzing to be able to get on this. Well, we certainly weren't the first ones to get here, but we're finally just reaching up to the entrance to Pleasure Beach, so we'll go in and sort out our tickets. There is exclusive ride time from 12 till 1 today as part of this VIP preview event, and I cannot wait to get my first ride. I have got my pass and I am going to be one of the first riders to go on AVIKTAS. We've got a little bit of time before the ride actually is going to open for the previews, so I'm going to whiz around the park, try and get a few rides in first, and then we're going to head there and see how it is. It is fantastic to be back at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, and what a glorious day for us to be back here. It's the first time on the channel, but it is definitely not the first time that we have been to Pleasure Beach. In fact, we came in July of last year, and it was one of the best days we've had on the park in a long time. I have just spotted AVIKTAS, and I'll tell you this much, I thought that it was going to absolutely dominate the skyline in this park, and it kind of does, but the big one right next to it does make it seem a little bit smaller than it is. Doesn't it look absolutely stellar with the fountains in front? It does look fairly substantial. I'm looking forward to seeing it start to swing though, because this is going to be as tall as 138 feet. The queue to get in is already enormous though. I knew it was going to be busy today, but hopefully they've limited the tickets a little bit, so we'll still be able to get a fair few rides on, because as I say, between 12 and 1, we will be having exclusive access to AVIKTAS as some of the first members of the public to ride. So the area around AVIKTAS is still all cordoned off. As this is a preview event today, there will be no filming in the ride area, which is a real shame because I would have loved to show you what it looks like, but I have just spotted my first bit of big theming that's going to be staying here. You might just be able to spot over the fences the brand new AVIKTAS sign with the stonework. It looks an awful lot like the icon sign actually, and I think that's going to fit in with this area of the park really, really nicely. I'm fairly certain some of you might know a handful of the people in the queue today, because this is going to be a very, very popular one for content creators. And that's where we're going to be landing at just before 12 o'clock. The hub is going to be the place for those of you who are going to be previewing. But now I'm going to whiz around the park. I've decided actually I'm going to skip the rides first thing this morning. I'm going to try and see if I can get some really nice angles of AVIKTAS from different places on the park, just to sort of give you an impression of the scale of this beast. So we're just heading past the Thrill-O-Matic, of course the Wallace and Gromit ride, a fantastic ride if you are at Pleasure Beach. And just to the left of the massive dome, you can see the wonderful gold serpentine logo of AVIKTAS. And from this side, you get a much better idea of the scale of this thing. It's very limited for viewing points at the moment. It is so impressive with the gold and the black. It just looks so classy from what I can see from here. But I'm just stood by the Big Dipper, and this is probably the best view that you can get of AVIKTAS across the park at the moment. They have got these massive, like 8-foot tall black wooden barriers up in front, and it's really difficult to get any interesting angles at the moment. But I can say with a great deal of certainty that when this thing is swinging, it is going to make this part of the park come absolutely alive. Of course, with the river caves being shut for such a long time under constant refurbishment, this area of the park has been desperately in need of something to make this area pop, and I really do hope that this gyro swing will give this area a little bit more purpose again. For those of you that haven't been to Blackpool Pleasure Beach before, it might be quite hard to understand just how compact this place is and how full of rides every area of the park is. With AVIKTAS now filling up that gap held by the old amusements arcade, it really does seem like every single ounce of this park is filled with coaster and attractions. And even for the little ones, Nickelodeon Land is a fantastic place. It's full of so many different things. It's got the log flume, it's got 2 different roller coasters and a whole bunch of flat rides as well. If you haven't made the trip, it is well worth a visit. Now, what I would say about Blackpool Pleasure Beach is it's a very historic park. I mean, some of the rides here are over 100 years old, and that does have its benefits, but it unfortunately does also have its curses as well. So some of the rides here are now a little bit more rough than you would expect at a large sort of theme park such as Alton Towers or Thorpe Park. But what I will say is that they have done a fantastic job in recent years of bringing some of the best attractions to the UK. Just to put a little bit of context on that, I put Icon in my top 3 roller coasters in the entirety of the UK, and that is a very competitive list, let me tell you. And honestly, when I get off it here, it very often is at number 1. It is an exceptional ride. And I've only just spotted this, but just across the courtyard from AVIKTAS, they have a sign which says when the opening day is. We are 11 days, 3 hours and 30 minutes away from the opening of this ride to the general public, which is kind of awesome. But it does mean that it's opening at like 2 o'clock. Which I didn't realise that. That's a bit of a strange time to decide to open a ride for the first time, don't you think, Pleasure Beach? Anyway, that is enough nattering about AVIKTAS for the moment. I'm going to go get my first couple of rides in on Icon and maybe the big one. Let's see how those queues are. As I say, Icon is one of my favourite rides anywhere across the UK. This double launching Mack coaster is one of the most special attractions in the UK. It doesn't necessarily look it from the outside, but this thing is an inversion and G-force monster. One of my favourite things about this roller coaster is the way that it twists and turns over the ground. Honestly, this reminds me so much of Nemesis at Alton Towers, the way that it's dug down into the pits, and this thing just rages across the landscape here at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. This first launch is absolutely incredible, and then the second one goes even faster. Just the way it whips round every single one of these twists and turns. It is a fantastic ride. All these S-bends, the S-curves are just so much fun. And here they go for round 2. What an awesome ride. And it claims a 20-minute queue, so I best get on there now. That Immelman is such a special part of this coaster, topped only by the top hat just underneath the big one. There really is no better way to start the day than a front row ride on Icon at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, and I cannot wait to get my first go on this now. Well, that has certainly woken me up a bit. I've just seen though that AVIKTAS has been testing, so I'm going to head over there and see if we can get some off-ride shots of the first few swings. And here it goes. I've just seen it start to swing. This thing is gonna be huge. And doesn't the gold catch the light so well? I mean, this thing's barely swinging at all, and it's probably already going 40 feet up in the air. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is the first time where I've actually seen it, and oh, my stomach's starting to go. That thing is a little bit intimidating in person. I wish I could try and put this into some kind of scale, but it's not only going taller than the Big Dipper's massive cone at the top of it, but also I'm fairly certain that that is going higher than the first airtime hill on the big one. It is so impressive. Starting to swing down a little bit now as well. God, it's such a big ride when it gets going. As I said before, it didn't look like the most impressive of things when I was just down at the base. It looked big, don't get me wrong, but when it's actually swinging, you get an idea of just how enormous the scale of this thing actually is. Well, it looks like that's my one ride for this morning, done and dusted. I cannot wait but to go over to the VIP preview area now. Oh, it looks like I might be a few minutes late because everyone from the AVIKTAS queue for the VIP preview is already in the hub. So I've just been informed that you actually aren't allowed to film in the hub area. So I'll give you a quick little top-down view of what's in here. A few seats, a bit of grass. It's not the most exciting areas I have to see, but they do actually have a stage over on the far left-hand side. I wonder if they're going to be utilising that today or if they're going to hold that for opening day. So this is going to be as close as I can get for this off-ride POV. And I tell you now, I said it from the other side, this thing is so impressive when it gets going. It is just enormous. I mean, I'm having to pan the camera up to try and get the top of the swing in. It's 138 feet tall. To put that in context, the Big One, which was the biggest ride in the UK when it opened back in 1994, stands at a lofty 206 feet. So this thing goes as high as 2/3 of the Big One. It is utterly terrifying. Honestly, I'm getting butterflies just watching this thing go up and around. I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. I love these gyro swing style rides, but it can't help but give you a little bit of nerves. We are creeping closer to 12 o'clock. We've got about 20 minutes to go, and I think everybody who had a ticket is already here now. So there's probably about 500 or 600 people here today, which I don't think will be too bad to try and get a couple of rides in on this absolute monster of a ride. You'll have to let me know how many faces that you see that are familiar in this crowd though. I definitely spot a few that I've seen on the internet before now. It is so great to be here and see all the crowd all hyped up. Everyone is so excited to be here. I'll take this opportunity to say I hope you're enjoying it so far. Obviously if you are, make sure you hit like and make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. Thank you to all of those who have subscribed in the last week or so following the opening of the Wall of the Paw Patrol video. That was an awful lot of fun there. Go and check it out if you haven't already. But make sure you are still subscribed because next week we're going to be heading to the opening of Bellegarde at Poulton's Park. It's a massive time for UK theme parks and I'm so glad to be a part of it because getting to come to things like this is just special.
You can't bring them in, the ones you can film with. Alright, so that's the serious bit over with. You're all clear on that? Are you all clear on that? Yeah. Good. Who's ready to swing to 138 feet? Woo! Who's ready for a fab moment of weightlessness? Woo! Who's ready for up to 4 Gs? Woo! Who's ready to ride AVIKTAS? Yeah! Let's get on with it then, guys!
See you on the other side. That was absolutely awesome! You do not get any idea for just how massive that ride is until you're on it. You can see all the way across the park. It is absolutely incredible. It was so smooth. It was beautiful from the start to the finish. It's about a 2.5 minute long ride time and 50 seconds of that you spend at full swing. Honestly, if you are coming down to Blackpool Pleasure Beach, you have got an absolute treat in store when you get on AVIKTAS. That is safe to say my favourite flat ride in the UK. Toxicator was a top spot, but I'm afraid it has been usurped. I mean, what can you say? It has been an incredible journey to get a ride such as this to Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Over the last few years, it's been a little bit quiet since obviously Icon came to the park, which was an absolute icon. And just in the hub area, we've got all of the new AVIKTAS merch. these golden green eggs, some of the new flasks that are available, the pens with the gold serpent at the top, and blankets and bags and pillows. There is so many things if you're a fan of AVIKTAS or just a fan of theme park merch in general. We were promised 1 hour of exclusive ride time with AVIKTAS, but at first glance it looks like it is one and done for this event. So I'm not quite sure what's gone on there. Maybe they're going to let us back around again later. But at the moment, I've done one and it was awesome, don't get me wrong, but I want to get on it again. But here's a look at the commemorative poster that comes with the first ride of AVIKTAS. This is one of only 600 produced for this event. Just been to get a little bit of clarification around this exclusivity for 1 hour. So what they're doing is they've allowed the first set of riders through, and once the queue has cleared, they'll make a decision as to whether to allow any additional riders to go back for a second visit. So I think I'm going to run back to my car now, go and drop off the poster because I don't want this thing getting damaged, honestly, and then I'm going to return straight back here to see if I might be able to get one more ride today. Well, I think it is going to be one and done for AVIKTAS. I'm going to head back to the hub area in a little bit, but just to take you through how it looks in there at the moment, they've got a massive open plaza immediately underneath AVIKTAS The Ride, behind the fish and chips stand, which is a lovely sort of stonework area. And the AVIKTAS sign itself is like sort of slate stacked, or it's what it's meant to look like that anyway. Once you get into the queue line, it's not quite finished there. They've got a little bit of additional fencing to put up, but for the most part it is complete. And there's loads of planters and bushes and general greenery all around the area, which I think in a couple of years will look really, really good. To the side of the ride, there's loads of this wooden, like, soundproof paneling, and it's got this massive gold snake that's intertwined through there. And you've got the main station building itself, which is a massive wooden structure, painted quite dark. And it is a little bit dark in that station, despite them having some really good open areas on the left-hand side to look out at the ride. Like laser cut, quite thick wood to block off the windows. Looked really good from in there. And they did have loads of like snake embellishments and sort of metal touches as well. Once you're on the actual ride itself, the ride platform is entirely decked out with wood, and the ride has these massive over-the-head lap bars, which are like black and silver. It's a bit of a shame that Intamin doesn't do those in the gold colour as well, because that would have really looked good on that ride. But I'm not saying that with any detriment to the sort of steel ones that were on there. So once the restraints are down, if there is any which are not locked securely, they can actually open little sections of this ride instead of having to do the whole thing. So it does mean that if there are any issues, they'll be able to get around it a little bit quicker. So once you're on the actual ride itself, as I say, the platform will drop away from you, and it's about a 15-foot drop down, but the actual wooden decking area only goes down by a couple of feet just to allow the actual ride to swing. You get 40 passengers per car, and the ride time is around 2.5 minutes. So I had a little count up. That is 25 swings in 2.5 minutes. You spend about 50 seconds going up to the maximum swing, another 50 seconds at full swing, and then about 50 seconds cooling back down at the end just to settle it back to the bottom. You're not going to get massive throughput on this ride. You're only going to get about 40 people per ride, and at 2.5 minutes each, not including onboarding and offboarding time, this is going to be a slow moving queue. So the ride experience itself, it starts out very slow, very gentle. It doesn't spin all that much, not quite like Maelstrom at Drayton Manor. This is a very slow turner. And honestly, until you're about 50% height, it doesn't really feel that intense at all. But as soon as you have gone beyond sort of 90 degrees, this thing lets out. And honestly, the G-forces are so intense at the bottom of the swing. Apparently up to 4 Gs you're going to pull on this ride, and I can absolutely believe it. I mean, the views from the top of this are utterly incredible. Looking out onto the sea, and then obviously across the rest of the park over to Icon and Avalanche, it is so big up there. And honestly, coming down, if you've got that part of the swing where you're facing the direction of travel, my eyes were utterly streaming on that. But honestly, that is brilliant. By far and away the best flat ride I have done in the UK. Well, seeing as we're probably not going to get another ride on AVIKTAS, I figured I may as well try and run out of the park and get a few off-ride shots of all of the preview pass holders who didn't manage to get onto the first couple of rides. And just also to make the point that I really did think that this was going to dominate the skyline, but when it's down, AVIKTAS really doesn't look like much of anything in Blackpool Pleasure Beach. You know, this is a park which is very famously dominated by the big one, you know, the old Pepsi Max. And that is a massive ride. And I think obviously with it being so much closer to the street than AVIKTAS itself is, it does make AVIKTAS look a little bit pokey. At least when it's not at full swing anyway. Because when this does get swinging, you realise what a monstrous addition this is to Blackpool Pleasure Beach. It just keeps going up and up and up. These swings on this are so intense, and you might just about be able to hear the people screaming at the top as well. This really is a screamer of a ride. It's not been the most incredible of preview events. Obviously there's been a lot of music and stuff around this sort of courtyard, but I did hope that they might do something up on the stage. But honestly, it is just incredible to have one of these massive Intamin Gyro Swings here in the UK. Yes, there could be more theming, and yes, it could be more complete by now, but equally, a ride is a ride, and this thing, it's on another level. The certificate decrees that we have conquered the mighty AVIKTAS, and mighty is certainly the right word for this. And that is officially it. They are closing the massive wooden gates to AVIKTAS. Hopefully the next preview might be a little bit better than this. We unfortunately won't be coming to that one, obviously. Today is a one and done. And then, you know, we've only got 11 days to wait until AVIKTAS will open its doors to the public for the first time. So that is us done for AVIKTAS at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. I'm going to continue on round the park. I might bring you with me for the last 5 minutes or so, but it is 1:45 and I've not had any lunch yet, and I am absolutely ravenous. So let's see where there is. I think it's time to have a little bit of a sit down and head into Coaster's Bar and Restaurant, situated just outside Icon and the Big Dipper. Last time we came here, we were pretty impressed with the food. Let's see how it is today. So for those of you that are interested, it's kind of a bit of a Tex-Mex kind of feast area here. So they got gyros and burritos and fajitas and ribs, and they also have a kids menu as well. I think I'm probably going to go for the nachos and the beef chili because I was really impressed by them last time, and I'm hoping they still hold up. It is a really nice restaurant in here though. Obviously not the most expansive of menus, but just sat right next to Icon's sort of final break run. It's a lovely building to be in here. Well, these nachos look pretty impressive, steaming hot and absolutely fresh as well. You can see them just in the back actually preparing everything, which is really nice to have an open kitchen in a place like this. I also decided to get a little side of the chicken bites with salad as well, you know, just for the protein goals for the day, something like that. Well, once again, really impressed with Coasters, to be fair. I mean, the chicken bites with salad, the salad was just a bit of lettuce and cucumber and a couple of cherry tomatoes in there. But the chicken bites were really fresh, really hot still as well. And the nachos had so much cheese sauce and chili on there. That was easy enough of a portion for probably two to share if you were having a bit of something else with it. And it is really also fresh here, which is so nice to see, because at a lot of theme parks in the UK, you're not getting food quite as fresh as that. Yeah, it was really nice in there actually. I would definitely recommend, if you're having a look for places to eat at Pleasure Beach, you consider walking over there. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere at the moment, like just near the entrance to Big Dipper, but it's a really solid place to eat. It was a little bit pricey. I mean, it was like 20 quid for the nachos and the chicken bites, and obviously the drink as well, which is not really ideal, but it is a theme park, and honestly I ordered too much, so that's entirely my own fault. And now, unfortunately, because of my own stupidity earlier, not picking up this poster, I'm now going to have to make another trip back to the car because I have nowhere to put an A4 sheet of paper for the rest of my day, and I don't want it to get lost, nicked, or just generally blow away. Didn't know they did meet and greets. Hello, Gromit, how are you? That's the first time I've ever seen a character meet and greet at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. It's nice to see something like that. It's definitely important for the little ones, isn't it? Right, well, that's enough messing around today. We've done AVIKTAS, we've done Icon. I think it's time to get some new rides. I haven't done the Ghost Train in years and years, but that is currently on a half-an-hour queue. It is the longest queue in the park, so I think I'll have to come back a little bit later. So we're going to take a quick tour straight past the Pleasure Beach Express, which is so nice to be running once again, and over to the Avalanche. I believe that this is the last coaster of its type in the UK, these sort of like bobsled style roller coasters, but it's an absolute blast every time I've ridden it, so we'll give it another go today. I stand by this to say that I think this is one of my favourite themed coasters in the UK. Yes, I know it's a bobsleigh coaster and it's themed to the Alpine Lodge, but it's very fitting, and actually I love just the beams and everything up here. It's a really nice looking coaster in a really nice looking station. Most definitely one of the most underrated roller coasters at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, if you count it as a roller coaster, I suppose. I mean, I know I'm not seeing a lot of it today, but like I said earlier on, Nickelodeon Land is such a fantastic area of the park for little ones. You do need to be around sort of 1.1 to 1.2 metres tall to really enjoy most of it, especially the biggest roller, Nick's Streak. But apart from that, there's loads of little things to do, from these sort of flying taxis to the boat rides, and of course to our next ride, Avatar Airbender. Well, a ride on Avatar Airbender doesn't quite scratch the same itch as AVIKTAS, but it is kind of an AVIKTAS like 0.5. It's a fun little ride. And after AVIKTAS 0.5, it's time for something a little bit bigger, the Big One. And I'm very happy to say that this thing is on 2 train operations today, which is the first time I've seen it doing that for quite a while. So hopefully queue lines shouldn't be too bad at all. I've just had a little check and it says 10 minutes. So let's get on it now. I do miss the old Pepsi branding from this ride though. Pepsi Max, the Big One. It's such a shame that that came to an end, but I suppose it was just branding. Goodness me, the Big One has not aged gracefully, let's say. That thing is getting rougher and rougher every year. I'm wondering if it is time for something a bit like a Nemesis Reborn with a full retracking of the roller coaster. But honestly, I don't know whether Pleasure Beach would actually be able to get that approval these days. It is such a complicated park. To be able to get some cranes in here and just to retrack it would be seriously impressive, let alone with having to replace all of the supports and everything as well. I just don't see how it could happen. And honestly, it's such a shame as well, because the Big One has a really great layout. I mean, it's a hyper coaster, you know, it's got so much airtime, so many sort of twists and turns. You know, the S-curves you get on this are really, really fun, but, well, I say fun, but they would be a lot more fun if they weren't just so painful. But unfortunately, that's just what we're stuck with at Pleasure Beach now. I would love to see a company like B&M offer to fully replicate that ride and put it back in place, but like I say, I just don't foresee that happening anytime soon. And to some people it'd be sacrilege to say scrap the Big One, but I think they will reach a point, possibly in the next 10 years, where it's just not rideable anymore. But it's not very often that we come to Blackpool Pleasure Beach, so I'm going to try and sneak in a little ride on the Steeplechase, because I can't remember when I last rode this. I think just about the only thing I do remember about Steeplechase is that the seats are not exactly comfortable. I do have a bit of a running theme when it comes to Blackpool. The rides here are not always the most ergonomic, let's say. While Steeplechase is a lot of fun, it is just about as painful as I remember that being. It is a very, very interesting sort of ride, and I've not done an awful lot like it before. All it has is a seatbelt to keep you strapped onto that ride, and it is awfully janky around those corners. There is a lot of jolts and bolts, mainly up and down the spine if I'm being honest, but it's still a lot of fun to do, just maybe be careful with the smaller of children. Well, given that I've already done the damage to my spine on the previous 2 rides, I may as well go and do a little bit more, hadn't I? On Infusion, of course, one of the roughest rides that Vekoma has ever made. And it's such a shame actually, because it's a lovely ride to walk under. It just is really quite a backbreaker, if I'm being brutally honest. But you never know, maybe they've greased the wheels or something today and it'll be the most buttery smooth ride I've ever done. I doubt it somehow. Ouch. That one really does give you a rattle. My head is absolutely shaken to bits. Still decent layout, just a shame I can't remember any of it. I think I might go on an Infusion. That looks like a good ride. Right, one last one of the janky ones before I call it a day, due to massive internal injuries. It's time to get on the Big Dipper. Of course, the Big Dipper being the oldest operating roller coaster in the park. And I think it's something like 100 years old or something daft like that. I'm sure it celebrated its centenary a couple of years ago. I tell you what, if I'm still running that good when I'm 103 years old, I'll be doing very, very well. Don't get me wrong, it's still got some rough bits, but that's far smoother than either the Big One or Infusion. It's definitely the smoothest thing I've done for the last couple of hours. We've only got about 20 minutes left of today, and thankfully the only ride that I want to do has almost exactly a 20-minute queue line. So let's see if we can get one more ride in before we head home. So for one final time today, let's head on Icon. And with that, our day at Blackpool Pleasure Beach comes to an end. Obviously, the AVIKTAS VIP preview event was not the best VIP event that I think I will ever go to in my whole life, but the ride itself, absolutely faultless. I really look forward to some more Intamin Gyro Swings, hopefully later on this year if I can fit in a trip to Leisburg, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get there in a hurry, so I'm just really, really glad that we're able to bring one of those over to the UK. And on that note, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, remember, drop that like and make sure you're subscribed for loads more theme park content coming soon. But for now, goodbye Blackpool Pleasure Beach, goodbye AVIKTAS, and goodbye to you. We'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.